What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Copway podcast and the Leicester Preview. But of course, we've got some good contract stuff that we need to talk about as well, of course. But yeah, I'm Mick Moran, joined by Kristian Andersson. Once again, Kristian, how you doing, lad?
Yeah, good. Feels like it's been ages since we've done this, so I feel like my English has dropped a bit. Like, I don't know, you can hear it, read it, or text it or whatever, but speaking it feels like when you don't do it regularly, like we have done before, it kind of, you have to think more. So it's like, I felt now when we were, planning to sit here, I was like, my English feels rusty, but hopefully I just get into it, so.
Nah, you're fine. I've said this to you before. You speak English better than most English people. You probably speak it better than me, lad.
It's just a feeling when you don't speak it like we usually do, or when I lived in England and stuff, it just comes to you quite naturally, I guess. But when you don't speak it for a while, it feels like I have to like reboot that kind of thing in your brain. It's weird, but it's just how it works, I guess.
Yeah, you have to turn your turn your Scouse meter on as well to get that tuned in. Otherwise, you won't understand me.
Cool.
Yeah, get the Gerrard stuff going. Got a few in the chat already. Paul, nice one, Paul, for jumping in. Morning, lads. Got Doug in as well. Nice one, Doug. At least Kristian's Wi-Fi is working today. It is. Well, yeah, it's 9 in the morning here, lads. It's 10 for you, so it's a little bit better. But I've not long woke up. Usually got a bevy on these shows, but I've got a cup of tea today, so that says it all, doesn't it? But yeah, let's before we talk about Leicester and what all of the permutations of what that could be, or title winning potentially and all that stuff, we've got to talk about the contract extensions, of course, because we got amazing news, of course, about Mo Salah, and then 6 days later, was it, we got the news about Van Dijk. Obviously, I spoke about the Salah news with John Gibbons on the last pod and a pint, but I haven't really reacted to the Van Dijk stuff. But just even as a collective, like to have those two knowing that we have all season that they're going to be going out of contract, and we spent probably the first 20 games, I'd say, first 20 games reaction shows. Part of it was always like, what's going to happen with Salah, Van Dijk and Trent, and we kept going around the circles about different reasons why they might stay and why they might not, and all that stuff. But to finally get 2 out of the 3 over the line is absolutely massive, isn't it?
Yeah, first and foremost, when Salah news broke out, obviously everyone was happy because obviously he's the best player in the Premier League. He's got the best season going, and he's still got games to get more goals and assists and get the point tally even more. So that was brilliant, because we know that would he go somewhere else on a free, he will still probably score loads of goals. Sometimes you're in the right environment, in the right place, and you produce because you're there. So it's not like something that is just going to be 100% sure if he scores somewhere else or whatever, but we know that we're going to lose loads of goals and assists. So I'm just happy that he signed, and then we were just waiting, and there were already news about Van Dijk. Then everyone, there was those signs, and he's kissing the badge as well. Against West Ham, we scored a goal, and everyone just kind of knew. But you still wait for the official information and presentation of it. So when the news broke about his contract, you just feel like we still got 2 of the best players in the world staying at our club, and you can't complain about that, especially even if they come up to a little bit of an age. The way they played this season, and we know what they can produce, you think that at least for the 2 years they stay in, and more the extension, whatever it is, they will, in my opinion, still produce. I'm not worried about them because they are such professionals. So to have them to stay, and then we'll see what happens with Trent, but that just gives a big boost for now and also for the future, because it will attract other players to come and play for Liverpool, not just because it's Liverpool and we're probably going to win the league. You're also going to be able to play at least 2 years with 2 of the best players in the world.
Yeah, and on that as well, but along with the fact that we've now got 2 more years to kind of succession plan as well. Like, we can hopefully bring in a centre half this summer who will hopefully be the Van Dijk heir when he maybe leaves in the next 2 years, when I think he'll be 36 when that contract ends, and he could probably still play on from then. To be honest, Salah, I think, will be 35 when it ends. I reckon they'll still be in very good nick, but you probably want someone who's early 20s, who like getting towards mid 20s when Van Dijk maybe ends, like a Huijsen, for example, who can come in and maybe take that slot and be like a succession plan. But it's good to have, like you said, to have them players in situ ready for when that happens, because you don't want to be losing those 2, having to then bring in 2 new fellas and just expecting them to hit the ground running at the same level and speed that those two are, because they are, in our opinion, the two best in the world, and I'm sure most people agree on that as well. Probably not Arsenal fans, but most of the fans in the world will probably agree that they're two of the best in the world. But yeah, it's just good to look forward now as well, because it's two ticked out of the three, like we said, and Slot's obviously very happy. He's bouncing into press conferences, and he can finally talk about it. He can finally let the secret free. Like when he's getting asked these questions about Salah and Van Dijk, he's been batting stuff away all season, saying, "Oh, I can't talk about it because nothing's signed and all that stuff." But we still don't know about Trent, and yeah, seen rumblings over the last couple of days about like maybe he is going to sign and maybe he isn't and all that stuff. But I don't know. I just think even just getting the two of them signed, I'd absolutely love Trent to do a U-turn, if it even is going to be a U-turn, because it looks like he is going to go to Madrid. But getting the two out of the three is just absolutely massive. I think, just in terms of, like we just said, succession planning, attracting people to the club, just making sure that we can build on what we're hopefully going to win the Premier League this weekend, but if not, the weekend after. And it just gives us a massive boost now on that Premier League winners, and then you've got these two fellas signed up as well. So it's all good stuff in it, lad.
Yeah, and I think, on the Trent thing, we know how creative he can be in playing in that position that he does, and he's world class. But in my opinion, is also that position that is easiest to have someone else coming in. We already got Conor Bradley playing there, and I think he's a talent, and he shows that he got the speed and he got the defensive skills. He's going offensively as well. It's a very pacey and aggressive kind of player, which we like, and especially in the cup, when he does, things like when he's tackling Mbappe and all that kind of stuff. We already have a player that can come in and actually play a great part in that position if Trent leaves. We don't have when it comes to Salah. We don't really have when it comes to Van Dijk. Yes, Konate is great, but Van Dijk is at another level. So, in my opinion, Trent is the easiest one to replace, without being disrespectful, because the points teller, like I said, that Salah gives us, you can't really replace that, to be honest. You're going to have loads of luck if you're going to be able to actually replace that straight off. And, with Van Dijk, he's been probably the best defender in the Premier League for many years now, and if not the best in the world. You can't really replace that just straight away as well. You might just find someone that is really good, and it might be something that you can build on and, be a great centre-back pair in 1 or 2 seasons coming after that. But, to, like you said, to have them two now and to be able to plan ahead a bit and just actually check who's available, who will fit the profile that Liverpool likes when it comes to what kind of personality, what kind of football skills and all that. So I think it's very clever that we got these two signed now, and then what Trent does, we'll see. Hopefully it stays, but if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, I think, still going to be sad, isn't it? That the fact that, I don't know. I just want to see from what he's thinking right now. Like, he saw Van Dijk sign, he saw Salah sign. What's going through his mind? Because he must have knew that them two were going to sign probably weeks ago, because they would have spoke about it, obviously. I'd just love to know, like, now that it's all broke and stuff, like, what's going through his head. But I'm sure we'll find out very, very soon as the season's coming to a close. But it's definitely going to be interesting. But Doug's back in the chat. Nice one, Doug. Says Salah is going to miss this summer's internationals for Egypt, so he is fresh for Liverpool in the summer and on the summer tour, etc. Salah and Van Dijk signing on is great and amazing news. And then he says shout out to Neil Atkinson for owning that Sky report on Sky Sports News. Yeah, if you haven't seen that yet, then yeah, have a little look, because I'm sure you'll be able to find it pretty easy, because most of us have either retweeted it or quote tweeted it saying, have a look at this, just it's absolutely class. It gets kind of asked about like a wobble, and he just says, let's have a chat about a wobble. And that's just, he just goes into a tirade about like why we're not limping over the line and all that. Just absolutely, just typical Akko, just to the point, but like so knowledgeable, and just metaphorically slaps the reporter in the face, basically, just without doing it, just with knowledge and knowing everything about the club. Just absolutely top quality content, and that's what I want to see in Sky Sports News. I don't want to see like two fellas like arguing about who's better, Gerrard or Scholes. I want to see like knowledgeable fellas like talking about like Liverpool and knowing what they're talking about. But yeah, got them two boxed off then, lads, and then we look ahead to tomorrow, because that's going to be, of course, Arsenal play Ipswich away. So if Arsenal lose, we can win the title at the King Power, which I think we all want to win at Anfield, but I think we're quite spoiled that we can go, I prefer to win it here. I want to win it there. You know, we've got
Yeah.
choices about where we want to win the title, which I think is quite funny, and we're quite spoiled in that regard. And if you would have said that to us 12 months ago, we would have laughed in your face. But yeah, if Arsenal do lose, don't expect them to lose. But because I think if they draw, I think their maximum, if we beat Leicester, will be the same. But then it's obviously goal difference and all that stuff. So you're not mathematically, if I can get the word out, like concrete as Premier League champions. But if they do lose, then we can win it. But I think for me, I'm looking ahead to the Spurs one next week, where at Anfield, like that is just going to be, if we win it at Anfield in that game, that's just going to be absolutely massive. But get the job done against Leicester. Maybe Arsenal get a point, or probably the win, to be honest. But it's just about getting our stuff in order, just trying to get to that point where we can just revel in being Premier League champions as long as we can. Because I think there was when we were absolutely smashing it early start of the season, you don't want to get too excited. And then as the games go on, the closer and closer we get, the points tally stays as like, when we've been remaining like 10 plus points ahead of them, you're thinking this is just unbelievable. And like, we didn't even in our wildest dreams would have ever thought this start of the season. But the fact that we are where we are at this point of the season now, just sign Salah, just sign Van Dijk, it's just absolutely incredible. Really, that's something that we'll probably look back on at the end of the season and think how amazing was that. I think it's one of those things that you can appreciate it when you look back and think just how good the season was.
Yeah, and like you said, to be able to kind of, well, we'll see what Arsenal does, but to be able to choose where we could potentially then win the league. Obviously, winning at Anfield would be the absolutely best option. But if we put our trust to Liam Delap and he scores and the Ipswich win against Arsenal, I don't really care where we win it. I'd rather win it at Anfield, but I just want to win it. But I expect Arsenal to win, to be honest. Yes, they dropped off a bit, against Brentford, Everton and stuff, and gave us the chance to go ahead and actually probably wrap up the league earlier than expected. But in the end of the day, they couldn't get the job done. We still have to do our job. And without, like I always say, being disrespectful to Leicester, they haven't been good at all for a long time. I think that I can't remember now if they won the last game, but there was many games before that they haven't really even scored or something. It was like quite many games, and they had a really bad run. Going away is never easy, but with the boost of Salah and Van Dijk signing contracts for us, knowing that another 6 points, well, depending on what Arsenal does, obviously could in a position where we win the league at Anfield against Tottenham. We should just go there and make sure that we do the job. They're in a bad form. They're not very good. I wouldn't say we have been really good lately, but we are strong. We are solid. We are on a mission. So, I'm still really much backing ourselves to do the business. But I'm looking forward to it. Every game now, like you said before, like we've been waiting, the whole season. We didn't know what to expect, obviously, with a new manager. And we knew the contract situation from the start and all that kind of stuff. Now we're here. We're at the top. We got the contract sorted, and we still just got a few games to go before we can actually lift the title under a new manager in his first season, which is unbelievable. So, I'm just trying to enjoy every moment now. So we'll see what Ipswich can do, if they can help us. If not, just go and do the job, and we prepare ourselves for a lift-off at Anfield against Tottenham, which they are also very bad at the moment. So we got 2 games now. We actually, without just saying we can win easily, but it's 2 games where we actually should win if we look at the current form.
Yeah, just looking at the table, like bottom 3 are pretty much sewn up. Like Ipswich are on 21, Leicester 18, Southampton are on 10, obviously already gone, but West Ham are ahead of them on 35. So it's nearly impossible for Leicester to be safe, but they're just playing for pride at this point, and they'll probably want to maybe upset the apple cart a little bit and just try and throw a spanner in the works. Like you said, their recent form's pretty horrendous. They drew 2-2 with Brighton last game, but all the other games they got battered by Newcastle 3-0. They got beat by City 2-0. They got beat by Man United 3-0. That says everything you need to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, beat by Chelsea, beat by West Ham, beat by Brentford, beat by Arsenal. Yeah, they've had a bit of a horrible run of form, but yeah, I think games against them, especially their fans and stuff, not a massive fan of their fans and the way that they type of stuff that they chant. So I think it's always got a little bit of a spiky affair. So hopefully it's one of them where we can get an early goal and kind of just settle down a little bit, and we can just obviously we'll know at that point as well, like you said, especially with the Arsenal result, we'll know what we need to do in terms of that if Arsenal amazingly lose, like having that extra energy to, right lads, if we win this, we've won the league. So that gives you the extra energy that you need, isn't it, in terms of like going to do that. But Doug's back in with another comment. Says Leicester have had an 8-match losing run, not scored in 834 minutes too. I've lost the last 7 at home. So pretty horrendous run of form, to be fair. So we need to make sure that we pile on the misery on Ruud van Nistelrooy even more. But let's talk about team predictioning, because I think it's quite easy at this stage of the season. I think West Ham game, obviously Szoboszlai was on the bench, and that was a bit of a surprise for me. I just thought we'd go like tried and tested with Bradley back and all that stuff. But I think he'll probably go the usual: Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai. Bradley, who I thought was very good again against West Ham, who's now back on the side. I think slotted Trent could be on the bench, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes on, like what reception he might get. We'll see. But I think it pretty much picks itself, doesn't it? At this point, with Alisson, that obviously came back as well against West Ham and was very much in the game. He was loads of saves, more than you want him to save. But that's why he's the best in the world, and that's why he's so good for us at one-on-one saves. He's unbelievable. I think the main thing, as it always is this season, is who's going to play. So we know Salah's going to be on the right, but I think the other two, like, is it going to be Gakpo on the left? Maybe he goes Diaz on the left, and then there's obviously the front, the number 9 as well, like Jota, Diaz or Nunes. So it's all about maybe rejigging that a little bit. But with one game a week now, we haven't got really a need to rejig that, or like, you know what I mean? Like there's no really reason to do that. You just go, you try and test your best, who you think's in the best form based on obviously previous games and who's flying in training or whatever else. So people saying like maybe throw Chiesa in, but I think maybe throw Chiesa in when the league's wrapped up a little bit more, or you can bring them on towards the end of a game where you need a bit of an impact. But yeah, I think what are your thoughts, like, front three wise?
I think it
or,
would
or if you disagree on the rest of the 11, you might want to put
the thing is, like you said, with one game a week now, I understand sometimes, depending on who you play and if you play home and away and stuff, maybe you want to change something depending on keeping hold of the ball a little bit, or you're better off to be, counter-attacking if you play away, maybe because the opposition will probably go offensively on you and stuff like that. But, I think Diaz, I think it's been better the last couple of games because he had a little bit of a drop-off during a period of time. But recently, obviously, scoring against West Ham and scoring for Colombia as well. And feels like he's got loads of energy still just going in his legs when he runs at opponents and what he does. So I like that. And I've said it before, I think Gakpo is more of a clever footballer, but obviously not as quick. He's still quick, but I think Diaz just offers a bit of, something that tires out the opposition. So it's easy to put Gakpo on after he's been on for maybe, in the 60th minute, whatever, because Diaz been, just going at them for such a long time. So I hope we start Diaz just to make that happen. And then I think you stick with Jota up front because he's also a very clever footballer. He hasn't been that good, but I just think he wants to keep playing him because when he has his moments and when he gets his rhythm into a game, he just knits it all together. A bit like Firmino in one way without having the technical skills, but he's just one of them players who can knit things together when he's in form. So maybe we just try to keep him going and hopefully get into that kind of form because he hasn't been that good. But we know we got the power on the bench if we need, but I think that's going to be the case. And then obviously Salah to the right. I'd like personally to see Szoboszlai, especially when we play away, because the engine that he is in that part of the field is just massive for us. I like Curtis Jones as well. On the ball, he's technically gifted and all that kind of stuff. But Szoboszlai just brings a bit more of physicality into our team. So I think them going to play, and then obviously the rest, like you said, Conor Bradley goes out to the right. There's no need to risk Trent. It doesn't matter if he's staying or going or whatever. I just think he's been out injured. Don't take any stupid risk with him. Conor Bradley deserves to play as well, because I think, he's really good lately. And if Trent ends up leaving, I think, Bradley should be the one that we should pick anyway. If people kind of know what's going on, I think, within the team, the staff, and Slot himself obviously understands that Trent's got the quality to play, because we need the best players. We're going to obviously, I think, win the league anyway. But in terms of also knowing that, okay, you already made your decision, we know what's going to happen. I think to give someone like Conor Bradley a boost, like, you're going to be the next choice, lad. So we're going to pick you because you want to be here. You want to play for us. And that means something as well. I don't say Trent doesn't want to play for us, but you know what I mean. Like, so I think that's very important. So I think the team's going to be pretty much the same, but Szoboszlai in, and the front three, like I said, Diaz, Jota, Salah. Then we obviously McAllister, Gravenberch in midfield, and I think Robertson probably maybe coming in, starting instead of Tsimikas and stuff as well, obviously. So because like with one game a week, we don't really need to think about rotating that much.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And so Doug's put us in. He's put Andersson, Bradley, Konate, Van Dijk, Tsimikas, Grav, Mahrez, obviously Diaz, Jota, Salah, and then Paul's in with us as well. It says Ali, Bradley, Van Dijk, Ibu, Robbo, Grav, Szoboszlai, Mahrez, Salah, Jota, Gakpo. With one game a week, like we said, it's you're not going to be making too mad of a change that you would if you had a game every 3 days, like we did earlier in the season, where you probably do. Even then, Slot isn't a massive fan of like changing too much. He was changing maybe 2 or 3, weren't he, at best, even at those times. Yeah. But it just shows like how strong it is. Like, I know we need in the summer. There's obviously not question marks, but there's question marks around who we're going to sign, because we know that we need to do that in the summer, especially like we mentioned before. Like Van Dijk signed the contract, which is amazing news, but succession planning, like, and there's question marks. I think Konate's contract ends next summer, so he needs to sign that as well. There's been links with Quansah to Newcastle, so he might want to leave for first team footy. Gomez might eventually want to leave after he nearly left, I think, last summer as well, didn't he? So there's a few question marks there. We need to get people. Do you want to stay? And then if you don't, we need to probably go and we do need to go into the transfer market and buy some players. But I still do think we need a centre back anyway, just for that succession planning. Yeah, Simic, maybe a left back, centre mid, striker. there's quite a few areas. Right back if Trent goes. There's quite a few areas that we need to address going forward. But having Salah and Van Dijk sign on, and then hopefully going to be Premier League champions very soon. It's just all those massive signs that's saying that we are a serious club and we are going to be serious about challenging again for the Premier League title next season as well. But yeah, what's your score prediction then? I'll ask people in the chat, what's your score prediction? I think if you know Kristian by now, you probably know what he's going to say. But I'll ask anyway, lads. What do you think?
Yeah, I put down in the chat 3-1 as usual. I'll just become a lazy bastard this season, like the last half of this season, from like winter period kind of time. I think I just went like, let's go 3-1 every game. I just became lazy and hope that it's going to happen. It feels like a suitable result as well. Like if we're in a really good, like if we're in form and we put out a great team, we can at least score 3. But we also know sometimes that we kind of have one conceding one goal every now and then, depending on who we play as well. But obviously with Alisson as well playing that good, being world class, and with Van Dijk and stuff, obviously we got like a big wall in front of goal. So, but 3-1 always just it sounds suitable, so I just go with it. Don't have to think too much. That's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing.
And a broken clock's right twice a day in it, so you're bound to get right a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I said 2-0 in the chat, which I don't know. Yeah, it seems quite low, but I can't change that now, so I'm just gonna have to stick with it. And I think Pete, who I'm chasing in the league table, I think he went for 3-0, so he hasn't copied me this week. So hopefully I'll get a few points on him. But Doug says 3-0. Paul says 2-0, and he does call you lazy, to be fair. So yeah,
and he also called me Christine, the bastard. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, Kristen. Kristen Stewart from Twilight, lad. You've done well on that. We've got Doug saying Kristian 3-1 Andersson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just mentioned then, like, transfer stuff. what's your thoughts then on like what we need to do? Because I mentioned like maybe a centre half, left back, right back. It's like three positions in all positions in the back line. Keeper, we've got a keeper coming in. Keller is probably going to leave, and then the main two are going to be Alisson and Mamadashvili. But who knows? We don't know what's going to happen with Keller. I think Yaros is going to sign a new deal. Striker, if Nunes leaves, there's question marks whether maybe Jota will leave and Slot will just be quite ruthless and get rid of both and then sign someone who's more suitable for us. Cover for Gravenberch. There's quite a few there that you can make cases for quite a few, which is a bit mad because we're about to win the Premier League title and with a very good side, and there's still loads of stuff that we can. I think it's exciting because it shows how much better we can get. Like obviously we went out to the Champions League quite early against a very good PSG side, but you want to improve those areas where you can see the weaknesses, like the left back area and stuff like that, where going back into the Champions League again next season, where when we come up against these sides like the PSGs and all those type of sides, you can go, well, we've got the strongest players in each position, so it's going to be very hard for you to beat us. And I think those weaknesses that we can iron out with certain players is exciting, based on the fact that we're still going to win the Premier League title this season as well. Yeah,
it is interesting. I'm never really, into the summer transfer that much until something, officially happens, or, the sources that we rely on that are really good says something. But at this, at this time, I'm quite excited because, firstly, it's Slot's first season. He looks like he's going to win the Premier League. He's still got a great side, but everything obviously depends who's going out as well, because we need to consider, like you mentioned before, if Joe Gomez leaves, if Kwanzaa leaves, if any of the younger players like Morton or whatever leaves, we still need to make sure we got the homegrown kind of players in the team or in the squad, I guess, as well. So it depends on everything really, how people go out and who we want to sign. And if, like Nunez, if we get a bid for him, it's likely that he's going to leave. But there's also rumors about Diaz, even if Slot would like him to stay. You don't really know what's going to happen there. He's getting into his kind of prime age. He's got like 15 goals in all competitions or whatever this season. It's good. You can't complain about it. Maybe you want it to be a little bit high. It's hard to sometimes, expect that he's going to score loads, but it's more like, can we find someone that it maybe can add more points like Salah does from his areas. So it so much depends on it. But we need a left back, obviously, because I think in my world, Tsimikas would probably leave. I think Robbo would still be able to play for us. I think this season has been a one-off for him. Hopefully he can come back next season. And even if you get a bit older, yes, he will decline a bit, but I think he's still good enough to play for us in certain games. But if we get a younger left back in that can learn from him and get in and got quality and can actually kind of force him out of the first 11, which will happen to most players one day or another, that's the best option. Because I think I like Tsimikas, but I don't think he's always been the backup, hasn't he? So I think, if we're going to find someone that's going to be the first choice after Robbo, we need someone that can come in, learn from Robbo, and then take his place in another way that Tsimikas really can't. So that's one. And then obviously a central defender, like you said, we don't know about Konate and his contract situation going forward. Van Dijk now stays. We don't know about Joe Gomez. We don't know about Kwanzaa. So there is many thoughts, and I think it's going to happen quite a lot, to be honest. Well, we might be surprised. They just might find a few, and maybe most will stay. I don't know, but I think, like you said as well, now Slot had his first season. He had time to analyze the squad. He knows what he wants, and that's why I'm excited as well, because he's a new manager with his own ideas. He knows this squad is really, really good, especially looking at it now when wrapping up a league title. But how to improve it and how to get the players in that he wants to actually become better in certain areas and stuff. It's going to be really exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. First and foremost, obviously, I want to enjoy now and hopefully, when we win it, whenever that will be, and just celebrate. But then when that's over, I'm going to celebrate all summer anyway. But when that's over, it's going to be another very interesting period of time because of what's going to happen on the transfer market, because it is a new manager. So we don't know what he wants. And we will find out in the summer, which is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. The fact that he's going to win the Premier League title with only one signing, and he's kind of
Oh yeah,
used a very good Klopp side to, in the best possible way, to win the league title. The fact that he's now got the opportunity, like you said, to go into the market and find his players, the players that he wants to come in and have the
yeah,
effect and do the things that he wants. Like he gets asked enough every week about like what do you want from a number 9. Like he wants someone to score goals, but you need to work hard, you need to run the channels, you need to do all that stuff. But I think Nunes hits some elements of that, like the speed and the power and the running the channels and the pace and all that stuff. But it's in the areas where you need him to score, he sometimes doesn't score, and it's times where
exactly.
the chances like you should be scoring those ones, and it's at that point now where like you're looking at Isak, who's we know how good he is, but he's going to cost like fucking crazy money. It's like 100 mil plus. So
Yeah,
people talking about Cherky online, who's like a number 10. Because like Carragher says quite often that he's not a, it maybe goes through phases where he's not a massive fan of Szoboszlai in terms of maybe his output, and I think Szoboszlai's had good times this season where he's been scoring goals and getting involved in like assists and stuff, but there is times where he drops out of games where he's still running everywhere, but he doesn't have the same effect on games. So I don't know if that may be somewhere that we improve in the summer. I mean, that's another player
yeah,
that you then have to buy as well. But yeah, it's one of them. There's plenty of players out there, like left back. There's so many out there you can look at. I mean, I don't know if anyone follows Josh Williams on Substack. He does quite often like a weekly email about like who potentially might sign and stuff, and like breaks it down into similar ways that probably the
yeah,
data nerds at Liverpool do in terms of like all the metrics and all that stuff that we know that they look at. But yeah, you look at the left back for PSG, who I think's really good and still early 20s. Someone like that who you can bring in, who can, yeah, Robbo can still have a part to play because of his experience and stuff, but not having him as the first choice, I think will
yeah,
benefit him as well. It's the pressure of
exactly.
having to play near enough every week knowing he's number 1. And I think that maybe that pressure's got to him a little bit, where it comes back again to what I said before, like succession planning. Like we need to succession plan for Van Dijk, succession plan for Mo Salah, but we also need to succession plan for Andy Robertson as well, because these players can't stay forever, unfortunately, and that's just the
Yeah.
way it is.
But you mentioned Isak before, and we obviously, if we could just pick someone and you say, yeah, let's have him, we'll take him because
yeah,
of his goals.
if he was 30 mil, it'd be an easy choice, wouldn't it?
Because we know that we have clever owners, in my opinion. I don't mind them splashing the cash, obviously, but on the right players and how we use the money. I'm not in a position to say how the economics works or anything, but I kind of like where you find the right players profiles and you try to get as much as you can out of the money. So just say, for example, that we got 50-60 million pounds for Nunez, a bid from wherever, and we can use that money. We know that's not enough for Isak, but obviously we can put in money in that kind of bid. But someone that other clubs been rumored with, connected with, is Liam Delap from Ipswich, and I actually kind of like that because he's English. He's only 22. He's now got like 12 goals for a side that's gonna be relegated, I guess. He got some qualities that I like, and I don't say he's the only one we could bring in, but just say, for example, that we were to sell Nunez for 50, 60, and he only cost like 30, 40, depending on this buyout clause that everyone says that he has in his country if they go out. Then you can actually put some money in there and get some money left to put somewhere else. But it might not be the easy case, but you could actually maybe go and buy one potentially in the future good striker in Delap if he plays in the right environment like Liverpool with better players. Because if he can score 12 in Ipswich, it could mean that he can go and score 12, 15, 20 for a side like Liverpool that would probably create more chances because he's got that kind of qualities in him. But then you can also go and find something else, like maybe something that is better. You can actually get 2 strikers for 1, if you know what I mean. So sometimes you can look at things and be a little bit more clever about it's gonna fill the homegrown quota, but it's also gonna be something that you can put in certain games and actually offload another striker and maybe have 2 strikers that can actually share the goal tally in front of goal. Because at the moment, we don't really have a striker that scores any goal. We got Salah, who's been great this season, but we know his numbers, but we can't rely on him to always do the same, even if he has for the last 7 years. You know what I mean? We need someone else to actually step up and take responsibility. And I wouldn't mind to have two strikers that has both the age and the potential to become even better. But we know that maybe they score 12, both of them, like 24 altogether. If we have that, I can share that responsibility, and we'll see what happened to the left. Obviously, we don't know with Jota. He can play strike, he can play to the left as well. We got Gakpo and stuff like that, and Diaz we see. But I don't mind that kind of thinking where we can sell one, get two, kind of. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But that's an area where I think we can actually maybe find a solution like that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, even Jota, maybe question marks about whether he'll stay. So if we do sell Nunes and Jota, then
we need two anyway.
You could probably sell two and buy two. Do you know what I mean? They could buy like you said, a younger fella who's succession planning, like a 21, 22-year-old, or even a bit younger, ready for the next couple of years, where they can play alongside a very good players and get better. And then when the older fella is ready to kind of finish up, you can take over. That's the main goal for most of the positions. That's what you want. You want someone ready to go. Like we are exactly with Trent. If he's going to leave, we've got Conor Bradley there perfectly, who's obviously a different type of player. He's not amazing in terms of, or as amazing as Trent is with the ball, but in terms of other stuff, energy and defensive stability, and just eye for an assist. He's still got the same similar qualities, I'd say, but just not as good as passing. But having that succession plan there ready is something that you need for every position. And obviously it doesn't work like that all the time, but if we can get in a position this summer under Slot's first main transfer window, then if you're looking forward in terms of like going for quads again next season, like we're obviously going to go for it every season. And then obviously rival fans will start giving us shit for saying we didn't win the quad when it comes to February like they always do. But that's something that it's exciting again. It's something to that you want to look forward to and be excited about, that Liverpool are going to continue to improve. And if you can win the Premier League title in your first season, and you still got loads of areas that you need to address and areas of concern, it's just so exciting when you look at the potentials of what we can do next season and the season onwards, when you want to be winning Champions Leagues, like now, especially when you like think about it, like we were so worried about legacies and all that stuff, especially online, like saying, oh, Salah's only going to get one Premier League, like Van Dijk's only going to get one Premier League. All of a sudden they're going to have two now, all those players, and all of a sudden going to have two that have been in the same bracket as the first one, the likes of Alisson and Trent and Robertson and all that. But then like the likes of Gravenberch and Szoboszlai and all those players now McAllister, they're going to have a Premier League title on their list straight away, and they're going to want to build on that as well instantly. So it's all about building those legacies for themselves, because if we're continuing to show progression and that would mean business, we need to keep investing in the squad. We need to keep showing that we mean business going forward. And players are on their own. I think people sometimes forget, people like players are on their own trajectory as well, like they're thinking about like what they want to win as well. So if we can show that we mean business and they're getting like titles over the line, they're going to want to keep staying because they just want to keep racking them up as well. So but there's plenty of players that we could sit here for ages and talk about, but we won't, because my voice is starting to go, because it is like 20 to 10 in the morning. I've only had one cup of tea, so I'm slacking. But yeah, so we'll get out of here. Nice one for jumping on, Kristian, as always. Nice one, everyone in the chat. If you're watching it live, if you're watching it later on in the day, nice one for watching. And yeah, we'll see us all very soon. Let's hope the Reds can. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Arsenal and Ipswich, and then if Liverpool get over the line against Leicester, then it is what it is. It's still absolutely massive. We're being picky, saying we'd like to win it next week at Anfield. That's just that spoiled position we're in. But
I've got the champagne on ice and I got the cigar ready, so whenever it happens, it's fucking celebration time.
Just in case, lad. Yeah, just in case. Yeah. But yeah, nice one, everyone, for watching or listening. And we'll see you all very soon. Ta-ra.